There is a missing link in human evolution that isn't a fossilized jawbone, a scrap of ancient DNA, or a tool found in the dirt. It is a chemical reaction. It is the moment our ancestors realized that heat could do the work that their bodies could no longer afford to do alone. Think about your daily life. You navigate a world of complex social structures, abstract language, and high-level reasoning. You are reading this, processing concepts, and imagining the past, all thanks to a 3-pound organ inside your skull that consumes 20% of your body's entire energy budget. But here is the burning question. Why did our brains get so big, so fast, when every other species on this planet stayed small? And why, if our brains are so efficient, do we feel so mentally exhausted in the modern world? The answer lies in a desperate metabolic gap our ancestors faced nearly 2 million years ago. By mastering fire, they bridged that gap. They outsourced their digestion to the embers. This ancient hack, the act of applying heat to flesh, shrank our stomachs and expanded our minds, creating the sophisticated neural pathways that define modern humanity in 2026. But what if I told you this wasn't just a discovery? What if it was a biological trap? What if the very thing that made you human is also the reason you feel out of place in the world you've built? Today, we are going to treat evolution like a crime scene. We are going to track the heat, the hunger, and the massive shift in human chemistry. We are going to answer the question, did cooking meat actually rewire the human brain? Or did it just set us on a path we were never meant to finish? To understand why we changed, you have to understand the nightmare of being a primate 2 million years ago. Imagine you are a Homo erectus. You spend your entire day foraging. You are not a predator. You are a scavenger, a gatherer, a creature of the undergrowth. You are competing with baboons, hyenas, and leopards for the most meager scraps of energy. And every single calorie you consume is immediately spent just keeping you alive. Your gut is a massive energy-sucking engine. To digest raw roots, fibrous tubers, and tough, stringy animal tissues, you need a long, complex digestive tract. That gut is the most expensive organ you own. It requires constant blood flow, constant maintenance, and constant energy. This is the expensive tissue hypothesis. Evolution is ruthless. It gives you a budget. You have a fixed amount of energy to spend on your body's organs. You can have a massive gut to process raw, low-quality food. Or you can have a massive brain to process complex information. You cannot have both. For millions of years, our ancestors chose the gut. They had to. If they didn't have the gut capacity to extract every single molecule of energy from raw food, they would starve. They were physically tethered to the ground. Their jaws were wide, their teeth were reinforced, and their bellies were distended. But then, the savanna changed. The world got drier. The plants got tougher. The raw resources became scarcer. They were running out of time, and they were running out of fuel. They were in a metabolic trap. If they stayed the same, they would go extinct. If they tried to grow their brains, they would starve to death. This is where the plot of human history takes its first major turn. The desperation wasn't just for food, it was for efficiency. Then, they found it. Or maybe they made it. It wasn't a master plan. It was likely an accident. A fire started by lightning in a dry season. A piece of meat left in the smoldering remains. The smell, the sweet, savory, pungent aroma of searing protein, would have been unlike anything they had ever experienced. When they bit into that cooked meat, their biology didn't just accept it, it celebrated it. Cooking is effectively pre-digestion. When you apply heat to meat, you are using external energy to break down the complex protein structures that your body struggles to unravel. You are denaturing proteins, gelatinizing collagen, and destroying harmful bacteria. You are turning a low-quality fuel source into a high-quality biological gold mine. This created the first massive caloric surplus in human history. Suddenly, you didn't need to eat for 8 hours a day. You could eat a fraction of the amount, get twice the energy, and have your body do half the work. The biological consequences were immediate and profound. Because the body no longer had to maintain that massive, expensive gut, the energy budget shifted. The intestines shrank. The jaw muscles weakened. And because the gut budget had been cut, that massive pool of redirected energy flowed directly to the brain. It wasn't magic. It was chemistry. We became the only animal that stopped spending its life in the digestion process. We became the only animal that lived off-site. We were no longer biological machines, trapped by our own digestion. We were humans. And the campfire was our first laboratory. With the surplus energy now flowing to the brain, we started to see an explosion in cognitive architecture. It wasn't just that the brain got bigger, it was that it got denser. We see the expansion of the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that manages abstract thought, social cooperation, and the ability to think about the future. But why did the brain specifically grow in those directions? Because of the fire. Cooking is a high-stakes, high-cooperation activity. You cannot just cook whenever you want. You have to wait for the fire. You have to guard the fire. You have to share the fire. This forced our ancestors to sit in a circle. It forced them to talk. It forced them to communicate. The cooking hack didn't just feed the brain. It demanded that the brain become social. We had to learn to trust. We had to learn to wait. We had to learn to anticipate. These are the foundations of modern language and modern society. The campfire was the first theater. It was the first school. It was the first church. And it was all enabled by the fact that for the first time, we had the metabolic energy to sit still and listen to each other. We were no longer just reacting to the present moment. We were creating a collective, shared future. We were becoming human. But here is the twist in our story. Every evolutionary hack comes with a hidden cost. By outsourcing our digestion to the fire, we became dependent on the fire. We traded biological robustness for cognitive complexity. We became specialized. Our teeth are now too small to chew raw, tough meat effectively. Our guts are no longer designed to handle high cellulose, high fiber raw diets. We have effectively domesticated our own biology. And in 2026, we have pushed this dependency to its absolute breaking point. We don't just cook anymore, we process. we ultra-refine. We take the calorie density that saved our ancestors and we turn it into a chemical landscape that our brains were never meant to handle. We are living with the brains of advanced geniuses, but the gut expectations of the Pleistocene. We are constantly searching for prime nutrients, but we are drowning in cheap energy. This mismatch is why we feel exhausted. This is why we feel the static anxiety of modern life. We are essentially well-fed, yet our bodies are signaling that we are in a state of starvation because we aren't getting the right kind of fuel. So, back to the burning question we asked in the beginning. Did cooking rewire the brain, or did it trap us? The answer is both. Cooking was the bridge that allowed us to cross the evolutionary divide. It gave us the calories to become thinkers, creators, and builders. It made the modern human possible. Without the embers, you wouldn't have the sophisticated neural pathways you are using right now to understand these words. But we have to recognize that the fire was a tool, not the destination. The missing link wasn't a bone, it was the decision to master our own biology. We rewired our brains by changing our relationship with energy. And if we want to feel human in a world of digital noise, we have to remember the lesson of the campfire. The campfire wasn't about the consumption of food, it was about the intention of the meal. It was about connection, presence, and balance. We are not broken. We are just mismatched. We are ancient creatures living in a world of extreme refinement. The way back to our prime isn't by abandoning the fire, it's by remembering what the fire was for. It was for fueling the brain, for connecting the tribe, and for creating a life that was worth living. Your brain was built for the embers. Don't let the modern world burn you out. Stay grounded, stay primordial. See you in the next chronicle.